Hello again everyone. Today we're in the workshop at Casterton Vintage and we're back on the Cricket Club roller project. If you've seen part 1, you'll know that my dad built this roller in 1959 and the Cricket Club came to me and asked me if I could put a new engine in it. It would be a pity to let it go for scrap, so we got stuck in and sorted it out. In part 1 we installed the new engine and transmission from the Ransom mower we're using as a donor, and now we're going to construct the chain drive from the engine down to the transmission. We start off by milling some slots in these pieces of angle iron and then tacking the angle iron into the chassis in the right place to hold the bearings and drive system. Next job is to shorten the prop shaft. This will be running straight off the engine flywheel, so it needs to be in balance and made quite precisely, otherwise we'll have vibration. We'll leave the yoke end alone and we'll take off the splined end. First thing we'll do is get it in the lathe and machine off the weld and groove it down with a parting tool until we can pull this piece out of the tube. Just being a bit careful here to make sure we're only removing the weld. We don't want to be any deeper than the tube or we'll be into the spline part. We'll pretend we didn't hear this tool chattering like mad. It'll all be finished in a minute. So we get it pulled apart and then squeeze it back together in the press, put it back in the lathe and just true it up to make sure we're exactly right. And then we'll tack it together, check it in the machine and get some weld on it. The next job is to make an adapter plate so we can connect the prop shaft to the flywheel. I drew this up on the CAD and then lasered out the plate so that everything's in exactly the right place. Next we'll offer up the shortened prop shaft and just make sure that everything's going to fit where I expect it to. We need to make a recess in this plate as a register for the prop shaft to keep it dead in the middle. So we'll just measure the exact size and then we'll get the disc in the lathe and see if we can line it up well enough without making something to hold it. The best way to hold this flat would have been to make a spacer to go behind it, but I think we can get away with it like this. We'll true it up roughly with the tool and then we'll move over to the dial indicator and get everything spot on. I was given this tiny little hammer. I never thought I'd ever have a job for it, but it's quite good for this. Right, let's finish off with the dial indicator. We'll do the face first and then we'll move over to the edge. It's worth mentioning that officially I should be concerned about the position of the holes, because they're what are holding this plate to the flywheel. But because it's cut out on the laser, the tolerance is so precise that I've got no concern about the holes being concentric with the outer diameter. We're working here within a tolerance of about 0.04 of a millimetre, and that's pretty easy, even on this old lathe. We'll use the digital readout to get this spot on, but we just need a reference dimension first so that we can zero the readout. So I think that'll do. We'll just try the prop shaft and see. Yeah, the harder you try, the luckier you get. I've tapped the bolt holes for the prop shaft in this plate, and I'll Loctite them in and put spring washers on them as well. Now we'll jump back to the chain drive. We'll just dry assemble everything and make sure it's going to work. That looks alright. Now we need to add some threaded rod and some anchor brackets for the tensioner. And whilst we've got everything together, I'll just check how much chain we need. We need to drill two 16mm holes in the tensioner brackets before we weld them to the chassis rail. We'll get them squared up and in the right place and weld them on. Well, it looks like that's just the job. We'll get it finished off, welded up, and then we'll clean it down and put some paint on it. Next we'll sort out the steering column mounts, see if we can get it in exactly the right place so it feels right when you're driving it. The diesel tank sits on the same bracket, so we just need to make sure that that's going to fit properly as well and there's not a clash. I was having a bit of a problem here getting everything to sit straight and square, and I came to the conclusion that it's the pressed bracket that holds the orbital unit that's the problem. I finally decided to do both sides separately and make sure that they line up properly. And there's the finished job, all bolted up. That feels just right when you sit in the seat. We've got the clearance from the diesel tank and everything should be okay. Now we can finally assemble the drive and lock everything in place. That all looks quite good. Right, we need to wait for the chain to arrive. so we'll move on and fit the air cleaner. I left a space for it on the right hand side of the diesel tank bracket, and to the left we'll put the battery. So we're here in the workshop and we're just about to try a first start on the roller. We've got the diesel connected, the prop shaft's all connected. We don't have the transmission chain yet, but we can run it without that. In fact, it's probably safer to run it without that. We've got the air cleaner on. Fuel system's all on with the new filter. The only thing we're missing is coolant, but we can run it for a few minutes without coolant. I need to make some special pipes for that. Well, it just took a moment to get the diesel through, but I think we're okay. Everything sounds alright. And at last the chains arrived, so we'll get that fitted and then we can have a drive round the yard hopefully. Once the chain's on, I can slide the shaft through the bearings to just position it in exactly the right place before we lock it off. I wonder how it'll run. Let's start it up and see. Unfortunately, the battery's flat. Never mind, we'll get the charger on it and then we'll have a go in a little while. And we're ready for a second try. We've even got the door open, so we're being ambitious. You'll notice global warming has treated us to yet more rain. Well, it runs and drives just fine, so I think we'll call that a success. Our next job will be sheet metal. We've got to make something to cover up over the engine, and we need to make sure that you can't get your hand into the prop shaft area. I decided the easiest way to do it is to draw it out on the CAD and get the sheet lasered out, so all we have to do is fold it. And we're getting under some time pressure because it'll soon be cricket season if it ever stops raining. The piece we're bending here covers up where you saw the air cleaner installed. The box and pan folder makes it really easy to put 4 sides on a sheet like this. And here's the sheet painted and in place. And that's all for part 2 of the roller project. We'll have a part 3 with all the finishing off jobs, and we might even get to see a game of cricket, you never know. If you've made it this far through the video, why not click the thumbs up button and give us a like. We'll see you again soon with another video.